RESPECT. Gents, I'm about to tell you what it means to me. Most of you guys know me as a pretty laid-back guy, but the other day, I was shown so much disrespect that I basically snapped. The story? I'm about to share it with you and why I'm on an island in the Caribbean. Now, as a lot of you guys know, I was in the military, but what you may not know is I'm technically a disabled vet. I had a head injury early on in my career, which I know explains a lot about this channel, right? But seriously, as a disabled vet, I technically have access to the VA medical system. Now, the VA medical system doesn't have the best reputation. However, over the years, many guys that work at the VA have reached out to me and said, Antonio, you should use this service. It's free. And as a business owner paying cash for everything, I said, you know what? They're probably right. And it turned out since I lived in a rural area, I didn't even have to go to the VA. Instead, I could just go to my local hospital and the VA would pay for it. This was great because I was dealing with a hernia and I got to get that surgery 100% covered. Fast forward a year, they've now built a VA satellite clinic in my town. And it turns out now I have to go through this clinic to get anything done. Not a big deal, right? I just want to get a checkup. Yeah, that's what I thought until things started to go downhill. But before I get into that, I want to share with you why I'm in the Virgin Islands. You see, a buddy of mine who I've known for almost 30 years asked me to be here for his 50th birthday party. Fortunately, I had some airline miles saved up. He had a great place for us to stay, so my out-of-pocket expenses weren't too much. But I had to cram 3 weeks of work into 1 week to get ready for this. Seriously, as you can tell, I didn't even get this video done before I left. Needless to say, I've been stressed out. And that's why, gents, I'm happy to bring you today's sponsor, BetterHelp. In case you didn't know, gents, BetterHelp is the world's largest therapy service that is 100% online. So no matter where you're at in the world, you can get help. And as I've said before, gents, I use their services. I've got a lot going on. High stress job, multiple companies. I've got 7 kids, 5 of them mine, my 2 nephews from Ukraine who came over as refugees from the Ukrainian conflict. And straight up, gents, I know how lucky I am to be able to get away for a few days, to be able to spend time with friends, with people that will listen to me talk. Not everyone has that. And that's why I love BetterHelp, because taking care of your mental health is no joke. And BetterHelp makes it so easy to find a therapist you can speak with. So the way it works is this: you go to betterhelp.com/realmenrealstyle. When you get to their website, you're gonna sign up and answer a few questions. Now, this is important because they wanna match you with the right therapist for your needs. Once you're matched, you can talk to them however you feel comfortable. Text, chat, phone, video call. On top of that, you can message your therapist at any time, and you can schedule appointments at your convenience. And if there's not a great fit with you and your therapist, you can switch to another therapist at no cost. Gents, with BetterHelp, you get the same professionalism as in-office therapy. But it's even better because you get a hand-picked therapist for you. There's more flexibility in time, and it's affordable. To get started, go to BetterHelp. That's BetterHelp.com/realmenrealstyle. Over 4 million people have used BetterHelp, including me, to live a healthier, happier life. When you use this link right here, you will save 10% off your first month. Again, gents, awesome company, awesome service. Highly recommended. So let's talk. How did it all start going downhill? Well, first up, to my credit, I was there 15 minutes early. I had an 8:30 appointment, was there at 8:15. I waited for perhaps 10 minutes, got my name called by the nurse, and I went up to meet her, and immediately I could tell something was off. Now, in Wisconsin, people are nice. Even when they're upset with you, they're still pretty friendly. We call it Midwestern nice. I don't think people like confrontation, but in any case, this woman was perturbed. She was just looking at me and just seemed upset. And as I was about to learn, yes, she was upset, and it was 100% my fault. She weighs me and starts asking me questions and then stops and looks at me and says, you know you were supposed to be here at 8. I'm second guessing myself. I look at my phone. I'm like, no, I got the appointment at 8:30. Well, she says, yes, that was your appointment. But apparently they had called the night before. I never got this message that I needed to be there 30 minutes early for the onboarding. Now, to her defense, I did look and that message was there, but it was a robocall, was like 10 minutes long, and there was no way I was gonna listen to it. And I even brought up, if I need to be there at 8, why don't they set the appointment at 8? And when I said this, I was trying to be funny. I didn't get any laughs at all. Next up, she asked for my VA card. I don't have a VA card. Apparently, I'm not even in the system. Next up, she's asking me, well, did you go through your packet? Did you read everything? I didn't get a packet. So at this point, she's going from being perturbed to realizing that she's got a guy in her office who she is gonna have to onboard and spend the morning with, and she is not happy about this. And in my defense, I've actually never been in a VA examination room. So I'm clueless, I don't know what's going on, but I realize this woman does not like me. And at this point, she starts to explain, we're in doctor time. I'm gonna have to reschedule this, and we're gonna need to spend the morning going through everything. Which, gents, I didn't even mention, it took me 3 calls over 3 hours over 3 weeks to actually get this appointment set. And from what I was told after spending all that time answering all those questions, I was good to go. And again, gents, I'm just wanting a physical, but she's going on to tell me this is going to take all morning. And she kept questioning me about, yeah, you should have done the packet. You should know this. You should have done this. And I realized at that point, I really didn't like the way this was going down. And it was at about this point that she made it clear this was my fault, that this up situation was on me, and that somehow she was doing me a favor getting me into this system. However, going forward, because I would be getting all my services from the VA, I would need to go to certain appointments, be there, or lose service. And gents, it was at this point that I had had enough and I snapped. I told her straight up, I would rather pay cash for my medical services than deal with this situation. Now, I don't like to think of myself as a petty person, but I have to admit, I enjoyed seeing the shock on her face as I walked out the door, and it felt amazing for about 5 minutes. And then on the drive home, I'm thinking, well, am I going to lose my VA services? Was she in the right? Did I imagine it all? Was I overstressed? Would I now be labeled as a crazy PTSD war vet that runs out of appointments? And what's my wife going to think, that I'm still trying to put off this examination through any means possible? But one thing I did resolve, and I wrote this down, I'm like, I'm going to make a video on this because I feel this story needs to be told, because I know so many of you guys have felt disrespected. Perhaps you overreacted, perhaps you underreacted, but I'm gonna walk through how I think you should react, and I'm gonna talk about my reaction and critique it for the good and the bad. Now, first up, I think it's important to acknowledge why respect, especially to us guys, is so darn important. Let's talk about relationships. Not only does it build trust, but it's the #1 indicator that a relationship is gonna last. Me visiting my friend Tom. Why have we stayed in touch for so many years? Because I respect the guy. He's just done not only great things in business, he's done well in the law, but he's also somebody that I trust, somebody that I've been around, somebody that has shown me through his actions the type of person he is. He's always treated me with respect. I have shown him respect. And I know for us guys, it is one thing that we look for in the friends that are going to be for us there at the end, that will, if we die before them, they would carry our casket. I think so many of us want to have a group of people, men and women, around us that we respect them and they return that respect to us. Now, let's talk about the social implications. It seems like for guys especially that being disrespected is looked down on. I'm not saying that that's the way it should be, but I am saying that it's something we're really sensitive to as a society. There's also the belief that receiving respect, showing respect, is a sign of power. Think about somebody that is in a position of authority. What do? If we show respect to them, if we disrespect them, then it can be interpreted oftentimes as we're trying to undermine their authority, their position. And if you think about it throughout history, that's why respect has played such a big part in honor. And let me be clear, I'm not a big fan of dueling or fighting over respect. I just want to hammer home the point of how important this is to us and has been throughout history. So how to deal with disrespect? The first thing I would recommend is you want to maintain your composure. You want to make sure that you've got a positive body language to this other person. You don't want to betray the way that you are feeling and give them a reason to feel threatened where they actually may preemptively strike. Now, this could be really important if you're getting disrespected, you're in a bar, people have been drinking. But in my situation, I just wanted to make sure this woman, I realized, I'm not even going to bother engaging with her. I was going to maintain my cool. This is kind of building up. I'm realizing that I'm not enjoying the way that this woman is treating me, because to be perfectly honest, every other person in my life that I allow into my life, I've got a great relationship with. It had been so long since I had been disrespected, talked down to like that I was actually kind of in shock that it was happening. In any case, by maintaining your composure, what you're doing is you're sending a signal that you are confident, that you are still in control of your emotions, and it doesn't really, the other person may not even know what they're doing, which we'll get to here in a second. Now, the next step to dealing with disrespect is to deal with the person directly and to deal with them privately. So why privately? Because if you have an audience, if you do this in front of other people, people realize, hey, they may have to fight, they may have to respond just to be able to show their supporters. And this is why political debates are so bad, because behind closed doors, politicians actually used to be able to get things done. But nowadays they realize that they're doing this in front of an audience and they've got to maintain their status among their base. In my situation, it was just me and this woman in the room, and it was something that I was very direct with her. Once I realized what was happening, that there was no way I was going to be able to spend a morning with this person, I realized, you know what? I'm going to tell her exactly how I feel. I didn't threaten her at all. It was not loud. I just simply put my clothes on and said, you know what? I'm out of here. And I would rather pay cash for these services than have to deal with this. And that was it. And seriously, before she could respond, I was getting up and out the door because it was just something that I realized I didn't want to deal with. Now, what about the use of humor if you're being disrespected? So I think this is a bit of an advanced tactic. If you are a very funny person, if you can find a way to kind of roll with this, it's a way maybe to diffuse the situation, especially if tension's starting to run high. But understand what you're doing and realize it can actually come back to backfire you if the person they get frustrated because they feel that you're not taking them seriously. Next up, let's talk about expressing your feelings without blame and seeking to understand. The reality is a lot of us are disrespected at work. We've got to deal maybe with an a-hole boss, or we've got colleagues that just are, so at this point, can you have, again, a conversation, not in front of others, but explain to them how it makes you feel, and then seek to understand why are they responding? Why are they talking to you in that manner? You have to be prepared for the other person maybe to be a bit defensive, and this is where you've got to do it correctly. You do not want to make it their fault. You're just trying to understand. The best advice I can give you is just try to remove emotion from the situation. So this should be something that usually you talk maybe at the beginning of the day, not the end of the day when people are emotionally drained, and be able to maybe read the person and understand, okay, is this the point when they're going to be most open to hearing and listening to what I have to say and not reacting and feeling that I'm attacking them. Next up, let's talk about setting boundaries. Again, not everyone can do this when you're forced into a relationship at work, but I do find, with this woman, I realized, hey, I can actually step out of this. This is her place. I don't know what's going on in her life. And the vast majority of the people I have met in the VA are friggin' amazing. I don't know what's going on with her. All I do know is that I needed to remove myself from an area that, she had control. But in your life, you do have boundaries. Maybe it's your boss. He keeps sending you projects to do outside of work hours. And you probably want to have that conversation. Just say, hey, this is my time off normally. Is there a way that we can set up communication times? Maybe if when you're talking to one of your kids, they're always on their phone. I know what works with me is I just stop talking with them and I stare at them and I wait for them to look up and then to realize every time they look down at their phone, I pretend that they are gone and I stop the conversation. I've also done this with other adults and it's very, very effective. Now, what about documenting disrespect? My lawyer buddy isn't around, otherwise I would ask him, although he's not a workplace lawyer, but I know that a lot of you guys are smarter about this than me, so I'd love to hear from you down in the comments. My thoughts on this are simply, hey, to be able to keep emails, to be able to keep voice messages. I'm not saying you want to be recording people, but you probably would want other people present if the disrespect continues and you're being publicly, berated. And it may even be something that you have to speak with other people and ask them, are you seeing this? Is this something that they do with you? And it may be you need to talk with your boss's boss with this information. Now, this next tip for dealing with disrespect is something that I think everyone should be working to do. It's hard, but that's lead by example. Who are you showing disrespect to? Look around. Because if you are out there showing disrespect, it's going to come back to you. And it's actually probably even harder for you to notice when it does, or perhaps it stings more. Are you actually part of the cycle? It's tough for us to look at ourselves in that critical light and say, where in my life, or with my employees, or with the people that are under me, where I have this position of power, am I abusing it? And let's talk about using this situation as a learning experience. I have to say that that's the way I approach this. Again, I have no idea what's going on in her life. I realized I had a lot of stress going on in my life, and my skin was probably pretty thin on that morning. And to all of a sudden be, gaslighted, I guess that's what they're calling it now, I wasn't going to deal with it. And I also, when I did talk with my wife about this, she was like, I'm proud of you. You got up out of that situation. You didn't do anything. You didn't yell at anyone. You did nothing wrong. You just simply removed yourself from that situation. And yeah, we can go pay cash, and it's too bad about the VA. I will probably at some point try the VA again. But yeah, I'm just trying to look at it as a learning experience. And, I was able to learn about myself and the way I would react whenever I feel, just in a place I shouldn't be. All right, gents, you know what to do. check out the next video I've got for you right here. Oh yeah, come on, click it, check it out. Oh yeah. And while I'm here, I am gonna be filming some videos for tropical outfits, right? That's what you guys wanna see, right? I mean, that's how I can write this trip off, come on.